Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we talk to individuals, businesses, and organizations who are taking the lead and whose actions are impacting the well-being of their communities and the world at large.
Welcome to Money with Mission. Today, I'm excited to have some friends of mine, Randy and Jana Hubbs. Randy is a real estate broker, investor, and fund manager. He and his wife, Jana, are based in Kennewick, Washington. They are investment housing specialists with over 40 years of experience in single and multifamily income properties. In addition to working in their local market, Randy and Jana and their investors have properties in emerging markets throughout the United States and internationally. Both of them have earned master's degrees from Central Washington State University and spent 35 years in the education field. Jana particularly has spent her career as a special education teacher and administrator, and we'll get into why that's important a little later on. Her knowledge and success in this field make her uniquely qualified to understand the behavioral healthcare needs of affected children and their families. Again, we're going to talk about why that's important for them particularly. Randy and Jana have leveraged their teaching experience to help others learn more about principles of financial intelligence and true portfolio diversification by providing real estate investment opportunities designed to build wealth through passive income streams. Welcome, Randy and Jana. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us, Felicia.
Excited. Okay, you guys are at home in Kennewick right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, you guys, and Randy and Jana have both tested positive for COVID. If you can't see them, if you're listening, they both look great. They're doing okay. Tell us, you guys, both of you, about how you're feeling.
Go ahead, Jana.
We're feeling great, energetic. We had a couple days of soreness and tiredness, that type of thing, mainly in the joints, but overall, the hardest process was having the nose swab and, up towards your brain. And it was just very uncomfortable for the 10 seconds for each nostril. Other than that, it's been fine.
Okay. All right, good. I'm glad you're doing well. Randy?
Yeah, for me, it was pretty much the same. We were on a big skydiving journey. It's kind of the Sturgis of skydiving. And so we got to Montana, made a couple jumps in the afternoon, got up in the morning, and then here was my wife on the sidelines saying our daughter had tested positive. So then we had to blow out of there. And we were in our motorhome, so we drove about 2.5 hours. And once we hit the campground, I felt tired, but I thought it was, maybe it's from just, road fatigue or whatever. And so then no more symptoms for a couple of days. So I don't even know if that was a COVID symptom or I really was tired. But then like Saturday, Sunday, kind of mopey, a little bit tired. I took a couple naps. I never take naps. And achy joints, just like Jana described. And then after that, felt fine. So we had been to a birthday party, and it was for our granddaughter and our son. And so it was a big family event. So that's how we found out, when that had been 2 days before we took off on our trip, and our daughter had tested positive. So clearly when you're in an airplane, you're not social distancing. And we had, these planes held 25 people. And so we were wearing masks and stuff, but that was about it. But nonetheless, we got the heck out of there. We didn't want to infect anybody, and hopefully didn't. And we didn't really show the true signs for several days after that. But then we continued to test positive. And it took like 3 different tests finally to where I got a negative diagnosis, but we felt fine, the whole time. So
3 tests over how much time?
It was about 28 days, I think, total from the time we were at that party till I got my final negative, you're good to go kind of thing. The scary part, I think, was the health department's advice. No offense to them, but I think it kind of showed that maybe they don't know everything yet, because after our first test, the guy said, well, from the day of your first symptoms, 10 days from then, you're good to go back out into society. And had Jana not gone in for a dentist appointment, and then they rejected her and told her that you can't come back until you test negative, we would have just gone out and lived a normal life, which, now that we look at it in retrospect, how many other people have been given that advice that are still walking around testing positive?
I think a lot of people have been given that advice. It's all very interesting. I don't know why I went into that, you guys, but I just feel like, COVID is real. I think everybody can admit that is real. And there are some people that don't do well. And I think there are very many people who do fine. They get flu-like symptoms and they go ahead. The problem is we don't know who's who. So that's probably a lot of the rigmarole and uproar that we've got going on.
Sure.
All right.
I know that 5 of us, so my daughter, she got flu symptoms for like 4 days. Our son-in-law had no taste, no smell, and that was it. He was full of energy. His sister was completely asymptomatic. She had no symptoms, but she got tested. She was positive. But then I know a fellow broker here in the local market who spent 10 days in the hospital, pneumonia. He said it's the worst, sickest he's ever been. So obviously it has truly different effects on everyone. And this was a young guy in good shape.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about real estate investing.
Cool.
Back to, you started out as educators and truly in the education system, correct? I know, Randy, what was your field in education?
Yeah, I was a band director. So I started out as a high school band director, did that for 8 years, and then did another 28 years at the college, and I got to teach course band and that. It was the head of the instrumental department, and then taught courses like music theory and jazz history and things like that. It was an awesome career, but we wanted to be teachers from the beginning, and we also grew up with real estate families. So with that in mind, we knew that we weren't going to retire financially free if we were going to just do our teaching gigs. And so the beautiful part about, having summers available and as much vacations as we had, we started getting into collecting, investment property. So that was over a 40-year span. We bought the first property my first month of my first year of teaching back in 1979. We still have that property, and we have a resident who's been there for 32 years.
Wow.
We call it our Honeymoon Cottage.
Did you guys buy that? You bought that? How long had you been married when you bought that?
We weren't yet, so that was part of the test for Jana. She joined that was my first year of teaching, and anybody who's going through your first year of teaching, you're just trying to learn the ropes, especially with a AAA high school band. I was full, as far as my schedule, and so we bought it, we let it sit vacant, and then we rehabbed it in the summer. She strapped her work belt on, and the two of us worked on it, and that was the case. Of course, so history lesson in real estate, that was 1979. Following the next fall that came along was the crash of 1980. And so what was I flip at that time? Because I had already helped a buddy we didn't call it flipping back then, but we did the first flip in 1978. He did really well. Jana's dad was a realtor. I said, find me a property like that. And so sure enough, he pulled me out of class that first month and said, you got till noon to get this offer in, and there'll be multiple offers, just like you see sometimes today. And we got it. It turned out to be, we were going to flip it, and then the market crashed. I saw so many people that we were calling our mentors and people we idolized in the local market completely lose their portfolios, which was really sad, but it was a great lesson for us. And, we ended up holding that and then ultimately renting it. And then we really embraced the whole concept of buy and hold. It didn't flip again until the 1990s. And
we didn't just hold it, we lived in it.
So, okay. So I was going to just kind of walk through that a little bit more, because you bought the house, our plan was to flip it, you fixed it up, and now the market crashes. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there was some panic in you because this is your first one, your plan's not working out. Where did the mental stability come from to realize, okay, we just got to make a different choice here? How did that happen? Yeah,
there wasn't much of a choice. My buddy, the house that we rehabbed, I was invited by a very close friend of mine who basically, came up with the whole notion of, hey, I'm going to buy this from my aunt on a contract. We're going to fix it up. If you want to be my roommate, we can work on it together. And then once we get it all done, I'm going to put it up for sale. So I had to find another place to live anyway, and it just made sense to move into it because it was all rehabbed, ready to go. And so we ended up, of course, getting married that following summer. And so then Jana moved in with me, and we held it for another couple of years. So then we got it. Then we got our dream home, at what was it, 13.5% interest.
With a balloon, a scary balloon.
Yeah, 5-year balloon on that one.
Oh, so 82, 83?
83.
That happen?
Yeah, 83.
So Jana, were you in real estate or did you come from a real estate family too?
I did,
You
yes.
did? Okay.
My mother worked at a real estate office and then she title company, and my dad was a Culligan man, and then he went into real estate and had investment properties as well. And so we learned from both of our parents what not to do, what to do, and then what not to do through the whole process. And we listened and we talked and, worked through it. And we decided that, if we can work on a place and have sheetrock fall on our heads at 11 o'clock at night when we're trying to put up the ceiling and that type of stuff, we're probably going to last as a couple.
We can probably stay married. Let's break that now. How long have you guys been married?
How many years, Randy?
Well, we're going on 40 years next June.
40 years in June. Okay, everybody, you heard that. They've been working together for 40 years and are still married. It's possible. I'm thinking about putting together IKEA furniture and thinking I'm going to kill you putting together this IKEA furniture. And that's in just the first.
Yeah.
We have to redefine our role sometimes and make sure that we stay in our lane.
I think that's probably the best advice is figure out the roles and then stay in your lane as much as you can. Help each other out of their thing or wherever they're going, and then back in my spot. Let's just keep moving along here. So you had single family houses or a single family house in the 80s. When did you talk about the growth?
Yeah, so we actually bought a couple of more houses. It was a pretty interesting thing. My parents had a couple of single family homes in the local market. They were the quintessential, go out there, do it yourself, try to figure it out landlords, and we're both terrible at it. And my dad hated it. I always called my dad and our neighbors next door. It was Fred and Barney. So my dad was Fred and this other guy was Barney. And it was like, it was a comical existence because we were actually best friends as family. But Barney retired and then he became a, handyman. And so Barney did all the handiwork, His name was actually Bill. But that was a saving grace because my dad did not like working on it, and he didn't do well when tenants wouldn't pay. And, I heard the stress that they would go through. And I mean, a big reason we got into even investing in real estate was listening to them lament about why they didn't buy this or why they didn't buy that. But the two investment properties they finally bought, I always told them, hey, when you get ready to sell these, I will pay whatever price that you are charging or going to list them up for, so you can avoid the realtor fees. And I'd love to buy them on contract if we can, unless we can just swing the financing. And their answer was, you don't want these. This is not any fun, blah, blah, blah. And so we were at the dinner table one day and he had just actually mentioned, hey, I'm going to sell this to whoever his resident was at the time. And I said, no way. I said, you told me you would give me first crack. Well, you don't want those, and so had to go through that whole thing across the dinner table, but sure enough, convinced them to sell them to us. The very next year.
Both of us communicated to his parents that we were very interested. And I think with the buy-in of both Randy as well as myself, they knew that it was a team. Okay. And that, yes, we were in fact on the same page.
But it was interesting because the very next year, both houses doubled in value.
Wow.
So the market did a jump. So we got a free house out of the deal. That's how I always looked at it. 1 year, and it was like we could sell one and completely have a free house. So that was a big, not really convinced us we wanted to do more of that.
Did your dad, did he continue to say you don't want that the whole time? Or did he finally, had he seen, or did he ever see the benefit of owning the real estate and taking care of it the way you guys ultimately have taken care of them?
Sure. Well, I think, in the 90s, we started flipping. We got real serious. That's what I realized is that we had my father-in-law, Jana's dad, who was a real do-it-yourselfer, and he taught me so much about how to, we were out in the yard witching, sewer lines and stuff like that. And I had a lot.
No idea what that is.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny story on that was that little honeymoon cottage we moved into was we bought from an old hermit, and we were fixing the plugged kitchen sink within about 2 weeks after we had moved in, because now we were using this place because it had been vacant. This fellow had died and was in the estate. And all of a sudden, we're trying to figure out where this drain line is going. And we're out in the backyard, and he goes and he goes, "You got any coat hangers?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I got coat hangers." And so he straightens them all out and puts this little handle on the end, starts walking across, and sure enough, they go, "Rip," and he pulls out a shovel and sticks it in the ground and goes, "Dig."
Wow. Oh my.
Yeah, and sure enough, and there was the line, and next thing you know, we found that this thing was draining into like a 55-gallon drum, and so then we had to move the line. But yeah, he taught me so many things: plumbing, electrical, and I realized, that's great and it's a good skill to have. He wasn't the best landlord in the world, and so I learned a lot of maybe you don't treat tenants this way and things like that. And so we got a ton of education. It was, as we moved into the 90s, I read a book on how to fix something up and sell it, and it was called Buy It, Fix It, and Sell It for Profit. And the very next book I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the year it came out, just stumbled into it in Barnes and Nobles. The shelf was full. This was the big thing right after he'd been on Oprah. And that was like so many people, their purple book story. And we just kept forging ahead with one flip to the next, with our realtor who didn't know, that much about investment property, but he sure worked hard for us. And we did so many deals that it was great for him. We're still great friends today. That gave us enough capital to then move into our first buy and hold multifamily deal, which was 5 duplexes.
So I want to back up. While you were doing all the flipping and the fixing up and being a landlord, you were still teaching. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're still doing your education careers. So
raising kids.
I was going to say, and how many? And you're not without children. So how many children did you have in all this? 2.
Two children.
That's what I say. Like I think I know.
Now
2.
33 and 30. Going to be 30.
Okay. All right. Very busy in the beginning, learned a ton, made the money, bought 5 duplexes. And what year was that?
That was 2001. So we closed on those. And then we made the mission to buy 1 duplex a year. That was kind of our goal. And then we made the mistake of a refi, and we had them separated in our individual names. And so we got in a big hurry on a refi because things had dropped, and we didn't pay attention. Huge mistake. And we ended up with both of our names on title. By that time, with what we had, we were basically Freddie and Fannied out. So by the crash in 2008, we were maxed, and we had to figure out how to go into commercial from that point.
Okay. So Freddie and Fannied out, for those who are relatively new, means Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are the governmental loans folks. You can have only a certain number of loans with them. Once you meet your max, you're kind of on your own and got to figure out where to get money from to buy your properties. And this is pretty common that people start out as single family or duplexes or fourplexes and then get all the loans you can get. And now you've got to figure out a different way to do real estate if you want to keep doing it. So Randy and Jana figured out how to keep doing real estate, got there. With the 5 duplexes, that wasn't considered commercial?
No, we bought them. We were able to buy them individually.
Okay.
Yeah. I bought 3, Jana bought 2, and then she bought the next duplex, and we kept swapping back and forth. And then we did this refi mistake after.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you talked about you do buy in emerging markets. What's an emerging market?
Sure. Emerging market, if you're doing a lot of market research and trying to see where things are at. For us, when we were here, we bought, of course, in our local market, which is what everyone typically does, initially, and that's where they feel safe. And it wasn't until we got educated and realized that there was better deals in other places. And so we looked mainly in the Midwest. We ended up in Texas and in Tennessee, and in some, you pick a town where things are moving forward, and there's jobs, looks like jobs are coming in. And so you want to be in a place that offers that economic stability, but yet is in a growth pattern rather than in a decline pattern. And so there's this kind of wave curve for the what they call the 4 cycles. And so if you're buying on the uphill side of that, that's when you can really gain your equity and appreciation.
So how do you and finding emerging markets is a matter of statistics and due diligence, and it doesn't just pop into your head like I want to go to Dallas and buy things in Dallas. My understanding is that usually by the time you hear about the place, you kind of miss the boat. Is that how you guys have found it?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the first, we did a field trip with the real estate guys back in 2009. That was kind of the first stepping out venture. And the reason I did that was I had been studying exactly what you're talking about, the DFW Metroplex area. And there was so much conflicting information on the web that I was, pulling my hair out trying to figure out where, there were great buys in that area, but you don't want to be buying in an area where you got to put on a Kevlar vest to go in and collect rent.
Right.
And so
most of us don't.
Right.
We know some people that do.
Yeah. But so that from there, trying to find the right spot. And so, they were advertising this 3-day field trip. And so I told Jana, I think I can learn more in, this weekend than I have the last couple of years. I've been monkeying around looking on the online, and sure enough, I mean, the clarity was there. So got, between mentors, real estate guys are definitely big mentors of mine. It's where we met you, Felicia, and another great apartment. We studied multifamily investing with another guy by the name of Anthony Chara, and he is still to this day a great friend of ours. We do take trips together and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just, having those resources, and Anthony was really good helping us to, we did a lot of talk. There's a lot of data out there on where these markets are in the curve. And so we basically just would get together in groups and discuss this and figure out and start looking for properties in those areas.
And that's really important for everybody to understand is if you're passively investing, or if you're going to go and invest for yourself, if somebody says Orlando is a great market, which is a great market right now, all of Orlando is not a great market. You need to know which part of Orlando is a great market. But even before you know that, you have to know where you can find somebody to help you. If you don't live in Orlando, you need people to help you. So building your team is your number one thing to do, whether it's your broker, your manager, or your syndicator who knows the market for you, then it's just really important to be able to trust that somebody's taking care of things for you and is in the right part of the right market for you. Okay, so yeah, Dallas is a great market. Like, okay, well, Dallas is really big. It's like, which part of that? Money with Mission is a real estate and business investment company that specializes in finding projects that have the potential to give you a great return on your investment dollar and make an impact in the communities where we invest. Make a difference in your life and the lives of others. Go to moneywithmission.com to learn more. Okay, so you guys have been doing this for so long. You've got the international properties, but we can talk about that another time. How did you get to where you are now with I know you still have most of your other properties, but you're now doing something different. We talked, and I know you spent a lot of time getting to where you are with the special needs housing. Talk to me about talk about that evolution for us.
Sure, Jana.
Well, we wanted to do something different and be able to provide for an area of need that was pretty needy, in the sense of there are not enough houses available for adults with special needs. Okay. And the system has been broken for a number of years. And so I have a lot of contacts here locally and as well as across the state and in different states. And just because of my teaching and as an administrator, I was on several different committees at the state level that were outreach with feds and, that type of thing. And Randy and I wanted to do something that was close to our hearts. We wanted to do something either in the sense of adults housing or complexes or that type of thing. And we thought, with the field that I have been in and so passionate about, we decided, why don't we take a look at housing for adults with disabilities or for youth with disabilities.
Okay.
And so as a result of that, we did some research, some education, and then up skydiving, Randy got to know a gentleman that in the Spokane market that was actually providing service. And there's, you have to understand that there's some services that are okay, but they're not pristine. And one of the things that we look at is whether or not they are providing therapeutic intervention or actually doing something with the individuals, because it's not enough for us, and especially for me, to buy into something where individuals are just sitting in front of the boob tube doing nothing. There's got to be social, there's got to be living and learning and those types of things, social skills, behavioral skills. And so with the gentleman that Randy met, then I talked to him, and that's when we decided that they wanted to expand. They wanted to get into property where their landlord understood the people that they were providing service to. And that's been part of the issue also, is that so many landlords do not understand this population, and they don't understand when there's a behavioral episode and the wall gets kicked in, or a door gets messed up, or a window gets broken, or that type of thing. And so with our team, and we have a really good team that we meet every single week on, we are able to provide a lot of that, and we do research on what type of house is the best, so that there's a lot of visual, there's room, there's that there's safeness within the parameters of the property, the neighborhood, as well as the property itself. Randy?
Okay. So it's housing, and so you provide real estate, housing, and therapy also within. So do you have real estate and a business within each property?
So we do strictly the real estate.
Okay.
And then we contract with an agency. They sign, well, in this particular case, we have a 5-year lease so that they will stay in there. It offers stability. And then they provide the therapeutic intervention, and we simply provide the house and the services and that type of thing, as far as any kind of fix up that needs to be done that they wouldn't normally take care of.
Got it. So
kind of to clarify that too a little bit is we have a property management company within our brokerage. That's actually one of the bigger pieces of our brokerage. And so in doing so, we devised a management strategy for this population. And then with it being in Spokane, which we're 2.5 hours away from if you were to drive there.
Okay.
And so it is accessible to get up there and back. That's not a problem. But it also was a situation where we wanted to make sure that we could actually manage from afar. So that's really developed some great systems in doing that. The first thing we had to do was establish vendors, and we had a lot of resources to get that from them. And so not from just them, but other fellow people that we knew in that Spokane market. And so we also bought home warranties on the homes that we've purchased so far. So that helps a lot, provided it falls under the warranty. But we've just, like I say, developed a system to where we can manage them and provide that stability for them. Because you never know in a landlord situation, sometimes they may want to retire, or they want to just get out of the business, and now they're given this agency that's state funded, and so they've got to go through a pretty rigorous screening of the facility to make sure it meets the demands. But in doing so, it's one of these things where once it's up and running and going, if you get all of a sudden the owner decides they're done and they want to put the place up for sale or whatever that may be, these people are now have no place to go, and
right.
And trying to what they typically do is they try to go in and try to find a landlord. Well, if you're at market rents, whatever that may be, like Jana said, there's just so many of them that don't understand this population. It's like, well, I can just rent it to someone else. So it changed. We got a model where we rent by the room too. So it brings in a lot more income than it would if it was just a normal, 5-bedroom rental house, if you will.
Got it. So it sounds like, so you buy houses, you have the education, the knowledge, the passion for caring for this population of people. You're not providing their care, you're providing their home, and you're working with an agency. The man, his company is who's filling your house. and doing the programs. And you guys, I'm going to say, use the word decorate, but furnish and decorate the house in a way like you were talking about, Jana, with the visual, with all the things that they need, or is that something that they do?
That's something that they do. The part as far as the visual, meaning that a staff member that is providing service, it's important that they are able to look downstairs, upstairs. They have visual space to where they know that students or individuals are being safe, whether they're children or whether they're adults. And it's imperative. And so that's the kind of layout that we look for. Like a master bedroom, bathroom is not a need, although most houses come with those.
Right. And
so then we work with the agency on how do they want or need to take care of that. Do they put the lock on the door? Do we put a lock on the door? You know, there's certain things that we need to do in order to create a safe environment, whether it's at the furnace area or whatever, you know, and so that's what we do. And then they approve the house because we want them to like it and have it meet the needs of the individual population that they provide service to.
Yeah, it's been kind of a challenge that way as far as finding the right layout, and every market is different. Like, for example, even though they're still in Eastern Washington State, when you go into the Spokane, and this is specifically this particular agency she's talking about, we've worked with other agencies, but the Spokane Valley, for example, you see a lot of ramblers with basements, and well, that's not, when you're looking for a 5-bedroom home, which is our target, 5 to 6 bedrooms. You don't find a lot of ramblers with 5 bedrooms. You don't find a lot of ramblers with basements that have the proper egress or the ability to visualize. But we've looked at a number of houses, but when she was talking visual, it was kind of ironic. When we were in one place, it had red countertops. And of course, we always take the owners with us when we're doing the walkthrough. And, they're the ones providing the therapy. And this guy goes, well, the red countertops are not going to work here. So it just little triggers like that you're dealing with this population. So not every house suits their needs. Matter of fact, it's a very limited and a pretty tough find to find the homes that are perfect for what they need.
How much? So do you buy houses that you have to do quite a bit of rehab to make them fit, or are you really trying to find the house that fits and then just have them be able to move in?
Yeah, that's the beauty of this, because I know you do a lot of the assisted living, thing, and so you usually have to go in and put bathrooms in and all this stuff, and it's much more of a commercial play where we're just buying single-family homes that basically have the right number of bathrooms and bed. Obviously we're targeting the 5 to 6 bedrooms, but everything else is usually, like Jana just said, one of the 3/4 baths had the HVAC unit and a hot water tank in it. So we had to go in and basically turn that into a enclosure. So we went in, and we didn't, but we hired a contractor to go in and sheetrock in basically turned it into a closet. And because the air handler was in there, we just put louvered doors on. And then the agency said, well, we've got to make sure we have a lock on that too, so they can't tamper with that. So that's, it's just little things like that. The last one we did, it just needed paint. It had pets in it, and they're very sensitive to pets. So we really had to go in with kills, and, it wasn't strong pet odor. I know pet odor because we have a property management company, and you see it all. But this was real mild. I didn't even notice it to the degree that the owners of the company did. And he was like, yeah, this won't work. We'll have to definitely get rid of all the carpet. And so we ultimately, our rehab on that one was new flooring and paint. And that was basically it. Flooring and paint.
So it sounds like it's very, very important to, before you even start buying the properties, to have someone who's going to be your end user. Is that how you guys did it, or did you start buying properties and then find a user?
No, we found the end user first, and then in many meetings, Jana, I do the real estate side. Jana does all of the communication, because that's the other side. Listening to them talk, I just sit in the corner, and unless a real estate topic comes up, because they know all the lingo, and so it's kind of challenging to break into that. Here in our local market, and it's dealt with differently. You have, as she was talking about, on the adult side, not so much a state thing. It's more of, agencies and agencies that provide help. And then many of these adults can function more on their own, just depending on their level of disability. So it's a more of a merge that way. So every situation's different. Every state's different. We've dealt with other states and different rules associated with that. Some allow cameras, some don't, things like that.
Okay. It sounds a lot like assisted living in that way, that different states and even different cities and counties are different probably.
Yep.
So you guys are actively doing this now? Are you actively buying properties? How can people who are interested in giving their money this kind of mission to help people with disabilities, special needs, adults and children, how can they help you guys?
Yeah, right now we have a fund. It's called the Evergreen Income Fund, and it's designed right now it's a $2.2 million fund that we are in the process of filling out 8 homes in there. It may, because the market's fluctuated a little bit, we may have to, close that fund and, open up another one at some point, just because Spokane's on fire, along with the market we're currently in. We're the 2 largest.
You have to be careful about saying something's on fire with all the public uproar there is. So you don't mean it in a public way, right?
Yeah, we're also dealing with 28 units that burned down.
I saw that. I saw that.
So, I won't use that term. Okay. It's an emerging market. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it's a debt fund where we're, everyone. The beautiful part of that is when an investor, it is a 506c. So what that means is it's accredited investors only, but it immediately starts returning the following month after someone deploys their funds. And so basically these people are the bank. And then when we have the full portfolio complete, and what we do is turn around and go after commercial financing for that. We've already talked to a number and have done this play with other commercial lenders. And so we would basically, kind of to clarify, we are getting double market rents of what you typically would get. So, and the way we do that is we rent by the door. So in this case, 8 homes, 8 5-bedroom homes. We're looking at 40 unit multifamily play is really how that works. So ultimately, in doing that, we would go then take the portfolio based on the income approach and go to a commercial lender, and then those that want to stay in, we'll have an opportunity for an equity position, and then those that just are ready to move on to something else, that they get their initial investment back. In the meantime, they're making a great interest rate off of that based on how long they want to be in.
That's really nice. What I like about it is my company, Money with Mission. It's you can invest in something to make money for yourself, but improve the lives of someone else, improve a community. And that's, to me, what investing is about. Is once you have your base needs met, and even your whatever extra stuff you want to have, now it's time to go out and help somebody else. So if you have that money, if you have that ability, if you have that heart, there are projects everywhere. It's not just Randy and Jana with their special needs. We'll have lots of people on to talk about these different kinds of things, but you've heard Randy and Jana. Randy, you had a video, a slide that you can show people how to get in touch with you guys. So let's show that.
Yeah, I can do a screen share here.
And for those of you that are listening only, we will have this in the show notes so that if you want to learn more. And their website is, what's the website, Jana?
www.ihs1.com.
Here it is.
And then we have the other one that is evergreenincomefund.com.
Okay.
So we've got a couple different websites. You could get to the Evergreen Income Fund through the IHS.
So yeah, we've got this is, if you want to schedule a call, just, hop on that site right there and set up a time to do that. And this is rhubs at ihs1.com. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Okay.
We've got our investment housing specialist, which is our brokerage, and we help people in our current market basically learn about investing in small multifamily, that kind of thing. And then Global Summit Management is our actual asset management company that we are running the actual fund through. So,
okay. All right. Yeah. And Randy and Jana have a newsletter. Again, all these things are going to be in the show notes. So if you're driving, if you're doing something where you can't write this all down, it will be there for you when you get there. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Randy and Jen. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. To everybody out there, remember to give your money a mission. Leverage every dollar you invest to improve communities and your bottom line. And we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can make a great return while positively impacting the lives of others. To learn more about today's guest or to download 7 steps to building resilient wealth for women, visit www.moneywithmission.com.
I hope you enjoyed the interview and are inspired to give your money a mission. Until next time, send your investment dollars into the world to bring you a financial return and improve the lives of others.